When Dexter Callaway showed up for duty at the Global Innovation Summit, he thought it would be just another long night of badge checking and protocol enforcement. As a security officer with 15 years of experience, Dexter had seen it all, from interns trying to sneak their friends in, to billionaires expecting special treatment. But nothing prepared him for what would happen that night. Nothing prepared him for stopping the world's most recognizable philanthropist, Bill Gates, from entering his own event. The sun had just begun to set over the glass and steel towers of downtown Chicago. The east entrance of the Grand Horizon Convention Center buzzed with energy. Dexter adjusted his crisp black uniform and rolled his shoulders. He had polished his shoes until they gleamed, shaved carefully that morning, and reviewed his checklist 3 times before arrival. Tonight wasn't just another shift. This was the biggest security operation he'd ever been assigned to. Remember Callaway? His supervisor, Mr. Vaughn, had told him in the briefing that morning. No exceptions. Not for celebrities. Not for tech moguls. Not even for heads of state. Every person entering the venue needs proper ID and credentials. Security is priority number 1. Yes, sir, Dexter had replied without hesitation. No exceptions. By 6:45 p.m., the line of attendees already wrapped around the block. Programmers in hoodies, venture capitalists in tailored suits, tech journalists with notepads and microphones, all with their official lanyards displayed proudly around their necks. Dexter's eyes caught everything. A young man trying to slip in through a side door, a journalist pretending to be staff, even a group of university students trying to enter with clearly counterfeit tickets. He turned them all away without raising his voice. He didn't enjoy confrontation. He just believed in doing the job right. That's when a sleek, dark electric car pulled up to the curb. Not a flashy limo, not a vehicle with government plates, just a simple, understated luxury sedan. The back door opened and out stepped a tall man in his late 60s, wearing nothing but a plain black t-shirt, gray slacks and thick-rimmed glasses. His silver hair was slightly disheveled. He looked down at his phone as he walked briskly toward the entrance, without a badge. Dexter took a half-step forward, blocking his path. "Good evening, sir. May I see your credentials, please?" The man looked up, surprised. His eyes met Dexter's. They were the kind of eyes that had seen the world and changed it. "I'm Bill Gates," the man said almost casually. "This is my event." Dexter didn't blink. "I'm sorry, sir, but I'll need to see your ID or event badge." A flicker of disbelief passed across Gates's face. "I'm the keynote speaker. I'm already late." "Understood, sir," Dexter replied calmly. "But everyone entering must show ID, no exceptions." Gates gestured up at the massive digital screen over the convention center doors, his own face plastered across it, along with the words, "Welcome to the future, the Gates Foundation Innovation Summit." "You're telling me I can't enter my own summit?" "That's correct, sir. Not without proper credentials." A few people nearby began to notice the exchange. A young woman holding a camera whispered to her friend. Phones came out. Someone muttered, Is that Bill Gates?" Dexter stood firm. "Sir, if you can wait one moment. I'm sure we can verify your identity through the event coordinator." At that moment, a red-faced woman came rushing over, headset on and clipboard in hand. "Mr. Gates," she gasped. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Please come in." Dexter raised a hand, gently but firmly stopping her. "Ma'am, I was told clearly that no one gets in without credentials." The coordinator looked caught between horror and disbelief. "Do you know who this is?" "I do. But until I'm presented with proper identification, I cannot allow entry." A tense silence fell. Phones were filming. Gates stood still, studying Dexter's face. The irritation in his expression faded. Something in his demeanor shifted. "You're right," he said softly. The coordinator blinked. "Sir, you're doing your job," Gates said, nodding slightly at Dexter. "And you're doing it well." Just then, a breathless assistant came sprinting out of the building, a lanyard in hand. "Mr. Gates, your badge, it was left backstage." Bill Gates took the lanyard, smiled, and slipped it around his neck. Then he turned back to Dexter. "What's your name?" "Dexter Callaway, sir." Gates extended a hand. "Well, Mr. Callaway, you're the first person who's ever stopped me at one of my own events. I admire that." Dexter shook his hand, stunned. "Just doing my job, sir." Gates smiled wider, I hope we get to speak again soon." As Gates disappeared into the crowd, Dexter stood at his post, shaken but steady. The crowd around the entrance buzzed with whispers. A few people asked for selfies. One person live-streamed it. Within hours, Dexter's name and face were trending on social media. But he barely noticed. His thoughts were already elsewhere. On his daughter Zoe, on the rent due next week, on the bills piling up at home, and on one overwhelming question. Why did Bill Gates say he wanted to speak to him again? The alarm clock buzzed at 5:30 a.m., just like every other day. Dexter silenced it quickly, careful not to wake his daughter. Zoe, asleep in the next room. His body ached from the 12-hour shift. His feet were sore, his back stiff. But there was breakfast to make, school lunches to pack, and another long day ahead. No time to rest. The apartment was quiet, a cheap 2-bedroom on the south side. Dexter shuffled to the kitchen in his worn slippers, opened the fridge and pulled out eggs and orange juice. The coffee maker gurgled to life. By 6:15, the table was set and scrambled eggs, toast, and a glass of juice at Zoe's usual spot. He knocked gently on her door. "Zoe, time to get up, sweetheart." A sleepy 10-year-old with curly brown hair and bright eyes peeked out. "Dad, your phone keeps buzzing." Dexter glanced at the phone on the counter. 67 notifications. He frowned. Zoe slid into her seat and started eating. "Grandma said you're famous now," she said between bites of toast. "She saw you on the internet." Dexter nearly choked on his coffee. "She saw what?" "The video," Zoe said, pulling up a clip on her tablet. "It's you, stopping that guy at the event. Wasn't he super rich?" Dexter sighed. "Zoe, that wasn't a big deal. I was just doing my job. Can I see it again?" "No," he said gently but firmly. "Eat your breakfast. You're gonna be late." But inside, Dexter felt his nerves tighten. That moment from last night, that short, tense interaction with Bill Gates had exploded online. After dropping Zoe at school, he drove straight to his mother's house. Clara Callaway, sharp as ever in her 70s, sat at her small kitchen table watching the video for the 5th time. "There's my boy," she said with pride, standing up to the richest man in the world. "Mom, please," Dexter said, sinking into the chair across from her. "It wasn't like that. You followed the rules. You were polite. You didn't let yourself be intimidated." Dexter rubbed his face. "He said he wanted to talk to me again." "And why not?" Clara said, pouring him coffee. He seemed impressed. Just then Dexter's phone rang. The screen flashed. "Mr. Vaughn, supervisor." Dexter picked up. "Hello?" "Callaway," Vaughn said, voice clipped. "Get to the office by noon. The CEO wants to see you." Dexter froze. "The CEO?" "Yes, and wear a clean shirt. You're meeting with the Gates Foundation directly." When the call ended, Clara raised her eyebrows. "You're not in trouble," she said calmly. "They don't schedule meetings with the boss just to fire you." "I'm not so sure." Back at his apartment, Dexter went to the closet. He reached for a worn shoebox behind his work boots. Inside, a rough business plan for a private security company he had dreamt of starting someday. Callaway Security Solutions. $12,000 in savings. Some old notes from a small business workshop he once attended. Dreams on hold. He put the box back. At noon, dressed in the same suit he'd worn to his wife, Marilyn's funeral 3 years earlier, Dexter walked into the headquarters of the private firm, contracted for the Innovation Summit. People in the lobby stared. One man pointed. Another gave him a thumbs up. "That's him," someone whispered. "The guy from the video." A younger guard approached. "Man, you've got guts." The clip hit 5 million views this morning. Dexter felt his stomach turn. Then Mr. Vaughn appeared at the end of the hallway. "Callaway. This way." They walked into a high-floor conference room with a wall of windows. At the head of the table sat a poised woman in her 60s, CEO Judith Winters. "Mr. Callaway," she said. "Please sit." Dexter sat. Vaughn stood behind him, tense. "Your actions last night put us in an interesting situation," Winters began. Dexter's throat dried. "Ma'am, I was following protocol. Exactly as instructed. I didn't mean to cause—" She raised a hand. "Let me finish. Yes, some of our clients are concerned about how Mr. Gates was treated. However," she slid a business card across the table. "This morning, the Gates Foundation reached out." Dexter blinked. The card had a name on it. Samantha Lewis, Chief of Staff. They were Impressed, Winters said. Apparently, Mr. Gates was serious about wanting to speak with you. This is her direct line. Dexter stared at it. Why would he want to speak to me? That's what we'd all like to know, Winters replied. But whatever the reason, make sure you represent this company well. Dexter Callaway sat at his kitchen table late that night, the small business card from the Gates Foundation resting beside his cold coffee. He stared at it for nearly an hour before finally composing an email. Dear Ms. Lewis, this is Dexter Callaway following up as requested. I'm available to speak at your convenience. He hovered for a second and clicked send. He didn't expect a reply until morning, but 20 minutes later, his phone rang. Mr. Callaway? A calm, clear voice said, This is Samantha Lewis, Chief of Staff for Mr. Gates. He'd like to meet with you tomorrow. 1 p.m. Are you available? Dexter checked his schedule. He was working security at a downtown bank. I'd have to reschedule my shift. That won't be necessary, she said. We've already spoken with your employer. You're cleared. Dexter blinked. You spoke to them already? The address has been sent to your email. Please arrive promptly. The call ended before he could ask another question. Sleep came in fragments. The next morning, he dropped Zoe off at school, then stopped by a barbershop for a quick trim. He couldn't show up looking like a man who had slept 3 hours and spilled coffee on his shirt, even if he was. The address led to a sleek downtown building with tinted glass and minimalist design. At the front desk, the security guard smiled. You're that guy, right? The one who stopped Gates. Dexter forced a small grin. Just doing my job. Respect, the guard said, scanning his ID. Conference room, 22nd floor. No exceptions. On the 22nd floor, Samantha Lewis greeted him in a tailored navy suit and sharp demeanor. Mr. Gates will be with you shortly, she said. Please have a seat. Dexter sat alone in a glass-walled room overlooking the city. The chair was ergonomically perfect, probably cost more than a month's rent. His leg bounced nervously as he glanced at his phone. A text from his mom. Good luck. Zoe says, knock them dead. The door opened quietly. Bill Gates walked in alone. Same simple black t-shirt, calm eyes, a faint smile. Dexter, he said, extending a hand. Glad you came. Dexter stood startled. Yes, sir. Thank you. It's an honor. Gates motioned for him to sit. No hard feelings about the entrance situation? None, sir. I was just doing what I was told. Exactly, Gates said, nodding. And that's why I wanted to talk to you. Dexter's brow furrowed. Sir, do you know how many people ignore rules when I show up? Gates asked, leaning forward. They think it's flattering, that I like it when someone bends the rules for me. Dexter didn't know what to say, but not you. You enforced the policy calmly, professionally, with no fear. That's rare. Sir, I didn't know who you were at first, Dexter admitted. That's even better, Gates chuckled. You treated me like anyone else. There was a pause, a long silence between two very different men. Tell me about yourself, Gates said suddenly. Not your resume. The real you. Dexter hesitated, then started talking. He told Gates about his years in the military, his first job as a mall security guard, meeting Marilyn, his late wife, when he stopped her for trying to steal a bottle of water during a diabetic episode, her laughter when they started dating, her courage during the illness, his decision to raise Zoe alone, his quiet dreams of starting a small security firm one day. Gates listened without interrupting. Finally, he pulled out a piece of paper, a printout of Dexter's old business plan, the one he kept in the shoebox. Dexter's mouth went dry. How did you get that? I asked your employer about your background, Gates said simply. They were happy to share. He studied the paper. This is a solid plan, thoughtful, humble, realistic. Dexter could barely breathe. You know, Gates continued, this isn't the first time we've met. Dexter blinked. I'm sorry. Chicago Tech Expo, 6 years ago. I tried to access a restricted zone, backup generators. You stopped me. Dexter's eyes widened. I didn't realize that was you. You did the same thing then, calm, firm, polite. You don't treat people differently based on status. Dexter looked down. I never thought that was anything special. That's because you're not trying to impress anyone. That's what makes it special. Gates leaned back. I'm opening a new facility in Austin. A research hub, AI, climate tech, biotech. We need top-tier security, not just physically, ethically, culturally. Dexter waited. I want you to lead it. The words hit him like a freight train. Me. You've already proven you don't bend under pressure. That's what I want in the foundation of this place. Gates handed over a tablet. On the screen, a job offer. Salary 4 times Dexter's current pay. Relocation package. Full tuition support for Zoe. Anywhere she wanted to study. Dexter blinked. I don't know what to say. You don't have to decide now, Gates said, standing. Talk to your daughter. Talk to your mom. But I hope you'll join us. At the elevator, Gates handed him a plain white business card. On the back, a handwritten number. Call me when you're ready. Dexter stepped into the elevator, heart pounding. Outside, the world looked the same. Cars honked, people rushed, coffee shops buzzed. But inside, Dexter Callaway's life had changed forever. Dexter Callaway stared at the job offer on the kitchen table, like it was a piece of alien technology. Zoe, now in her pajamas, was brushing her teeth in the next room. The apartment was still and quiet, except for the ticking of the clock and the weight of an impossible decision pressing down on him. Across from the offer lay a photo of Marilyn, holding baby Zoe, taken in the old garden behind his mother's house. It felt like a different life. The offer from Bill Gates was real. The number on the contract was real. The possibility of a future where he didn't have to worry about rent or shoes with worn soles, or whether Zoe could afford college, all real. But it would mean leaving everything they knew. That night he barely slept. The next morning over breakfast, Zoe looked up at him curiously. Are we moving to Texas? Dexter blinked. Who told you that? Grandma said you might get a big job offer from that Gates guy. The one from the video. Dexter sighed. It's true, but I haven't decided yet. Zoe stabbed her eggs with a fork. Would there be a pool? He couldn't help but laugh. Yes, probably. And would I have to leave my school? Yes. She frowned. And Grandma. She could come visit. Maybe even move nearby later. Zoe thought for a moment, then shrugged. I'd miss my friends, but if it means you don't work so much and you can be home more, maybe it's okay. Dexter reached across the table and took her hand. You're my whole world, Zoe. This isn't about money. It's about doing what's right. For both of us. She nodded solemnly. I know, Dad. Mom used to say you were the most honest person she ever met. That night after Zoe went to bed, Dexter called the number on the card. A voice answered on the first ring. Bill Gates. This is Dexter Callaway. I'd like to accept the offer. 3 weeks later, Dexter stood at the gates of the new Gates Foundation Innovation Campus in Austin, Texas. The facility looked like something from the future. Solar panels, smart glass, AI-monitored access points, drones hovering silently in the air. 1,000 people moved like clockwork across a network of labs, research spaces, and secured buildings. Dexter wore a new uniform, dark gray, tailored, on his chest, Callaway, head of security. It still didn't feel real. Inside the main building, Samantha Lewis greeted him with a firm handshake. Mr. Gates would like to speak with you before your orientation, she said. She led him to a private conference room. Gates was already there, seated at a simple table with a tablet in front of him. Dexter, he said, rising. Welcome to your new post. Thank you, sir. Before we start, I want to explain something. Dexter sat. This facility houses some of the most sensitive technology in the world, Gates said. AI that could shift global power balances, renewable energy breakthroughs, climate reversal models. If any of it falls into the wrong hands, lives could be lost. Even nations destabilized. Dexter nodded, the seriousness sinking in. That's why I chose you. Not because you're flashy, not because you have degrees or headlines, but because you follow the rules, even when it's hard. Gates handed him a security blueprint. Our current system has vulnerabilities. I want you to fix them. Dexter studied it. 5 flaws jumped out immediately. Sir, he said slowly. These blind spots. Someone with inside access could walk out of here with classified prototypes. Gates nodded. Exactly. Then he placed a new card on the table. Gold with a security chip embedded. Level 10 clearance. Only 5 people in this company have it. Dexter picked it up carefully. That's how much I trust you. That afternoon, Dexter met his new team, 28, of the top security professionals in the country, former military, cybercrime experts, former NSA analysts. They looked at him with skepticism. "You're the guy from the video," one said. "The one who stopped Gates." "Yes," Dexter replied. "That's me." Another raised an eyebrow. "You don't exactly have a traditional background." Dexter took a deep breath. "I may not have fancy degrees," he said, "but I know how to protect people. I've done it for 15 years, and I know how to follow rules when no one else will." There was a pause. Then one voice spoke up, a woman with sharp eyes and a Colonel Jacobs nameplate. "I respect that," she said. "Let's see what you've got." At home that evening, Zoe raced into their new apartment, kicking off her shoes. "Dad, the pool has a waterfall."
A waterfall?
"Can I go tomorrow after school?" Dexter laughed. "Only if you finish your math homework first." She grinned and opened her backpack. "Deal." As she worked at the kitchen table, Dexter stood at the balcony, watching the stars over Texas. He pulled out his phone and opened a folder titled Dexter Callaway, Security Solutions, his old dream. It had led him here, and now, for the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing a better future. He was living in it. 2 months into his new role, Dexter Callaway had transformed the Gates Innovation Campus security system from the inside out. Protocols were tighter. Every access point had been updated to dual verification, badge and biometric. Cross-department audits were happening weekly. Random drills were keeping even the senior scientists on their toes. Most mornings, Dexter arrived before sunrise and reviewed overnight logs. It became routine: scan footage, review alerts, take coffee black. But one Tuesday morning, a flagged report stopped him cold. Subject: unauthorized access, 2:17 a.m., server wing 3. Dexter's fingers froze on the keyboard. He clicked the feed. A shadow, calculated, careful, moving right through a known blind spot between 2 cameras. Not an accident. He rewound, watched again, and again. This was planned. By noon, he had his core team gathered. Regina Jacobs, Marcus from cybersecurity, and 2 engineers. "It's internal," Dexter said. "They know the gaps too well." "We have to bait them," Regina said. "See where the leak leads." Dexter nodded. "Let's set up canary files, each with a unique marker. If one gets copied, we'll know exactly which department it came from." The plan went live that Friday, and by Monday morning the trap had been triggered. The copied file had a signature. It came from an executive's terminal. Name: Vernon Reeves, Senior VP of Operations. One of Gates's oldest colleagues. "I need to speak with Mr. Gates," Dexter told Samantha Lewis. "His schedule's tight. This can't wait." Within the hour, Dexter stood in Bill Gates's private office. He laid down the evidence. Access logs, digital footprints, footage, money transfers to an offshore account. Gates didn't say a word. He studied the tablet quietly, then slowly set it down. "Vernon's been with me for over 20 years. "I know," Dexter said quietly, "but the data doesn't lie." Gates turned to the window. "You have more courage than most people I know, Callaway." "Thank you." But before Gates could act, Vernon disappeared. 2 nights later, Dexter received a call from Zoe. "Dad, Maya invited me to her house. Can I go for a sleepover?" "Sure," he said. "Be home by noon tomorrow." It wasn't until he picked her up that something felt off. Maya's father didn't come to the door. Vernon did. "Hello, Dexter," he said, calmly smiling. "Why don't you come in?" Everything in Dexter's body went cold. Zoe was inside. So was Maya. Vernon had taken them. "You don't want to do this," Dexter said, stepping forward. "Oh, I think I do," Vernon whispered. "You cost me everything. But I'm not walking away with nothing." Dexter kept him talking, buying time, reaching slowly for his phone. But Vernon saw the move and crushed it under his heel. "Don't try anything." Just then, Zoe's voice floated from the hallway. "Dad?" Dexter shouted, "Zoe! Get out of the house, now!" She screamed. Vernon lunged. The 2 men crashed into a desk. Tools and robot parts flew. Dexter was bigger, stronger, but Vernon was desperate. Still, Dexter held on, pushing Vernon down, trying to reach his earpiece. Sirens screamed outside. Security had tracked Vernon's phone. Help had arrived. Regina burst through the basement door, weapon drawn. "Freeze!" Vernon didn't resist. He collapsed, exhausted, defeated. Zoe ran into Dexter's arms, sobbing. "You're safe," he whispered. "I've got you." The story made national news. Bill Gates's head of security foils internal espionage plot. Former executive arrested for corporate sabotage and endangering children. Gates personally visited Dexter in the hospital the next day. "I owe you more than I can say," he said, watching Zoe sleep in the chair beside her father. "I just did my job," Dexter replied. "No," Gates said softly. "You protected something more valuable than data or money. You protected the values this place was built on." Weeks later, back at the campus, Dexter returned to a transformed security team. They no longer saw him as the guy from the video. He was their leader now. His new title, Chief Security Director, Global Operations. 17 facilities, hundreds of staff, and one set of principals. No exceptions, ever. That fall, the Gates Foundation announced a new education fund for children of single parents in STEM, named after Dexter's late wife. The Marilyn Callaway Memorial Scholarship. Zoe was asked to speak at the first ceremony. "I want to be a scientist like my mom," she said into the microphone. "But my dad is my hero." Dexter wept. A year passed, and one morning, back at the Global Innovation Summit, Gates met Dexter outside the venue. "No badge today, Bill?" Dexter asked with a smirk. Gates laughed, lifting a lanyard from his pocket. "I learned my lesson." They stood together at the gates, the billionaire and the guard. "Who wouldn't bend? Still following the rules, Callaway." "Always." Gates smiled. "Good. The world needs more men like you." And that's how one ordinary man's commitment to doing the right thing changed not only his own life, but his daughter's future and the legacy of a global institution.